go. He's gone, man. He's gone.
We've been talking about all the planned chaos, all the things that are going on right now. And there is a crackdown of ICE that is happening. And it has gotten so wild, particularly in North Carolina with the Democrat governor there. And it is so out of control. People are just losing their minds. But what have I been talking to you about? What have I been talking to you about? You've got to look at the deeper thing that's going on. You got to look below the surface. So we're going to look at these videos. We're going to get into it. We're going to hear what the governor of North Carolina has to say, who is, against ICE, who basically is siding with illegals who are here in this country. But again, understand, this is part of what they want. This is what they want us looking at while all these other things are happening under the surface. And if you guys are looking for my live stream, I will be doing that tonight. I'm going to be doing it here on this channel and my other channel. The link is below. It's for Melanie Offscript, because I think I'm going to migrate everything over onto that channel that relates to that stuff that we're talking about, all the new things that we're discovering. But I still think it is very important that we see the news, that we see what's going on, so we can put those pieces together and understand what this chaos, what this disorder, and what are the things happening in the news, and relate it back to those things that we've been talking about. But I showed you that, and let me just see. I want to show you something else. There's even more. I want to show you more of what's happening with these raids. Actually, I think this is the governor, okay? This is Josh Stein out of North Carolina, and there's a couple of things.
If you know that,
sorry, there's
to
a
the
couple
CBP,
of, it's playing. There's a couple things that he's saying, and I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be enlightening. So let's hear what he has to say.
To the CBP, if you know that we have violent criminals in Charlotte who are undocumented, we want them out too. Everyone wants to be safe in their communities. But the actions of too many federal agents are doing the exact opposite in Charlotte. We've seen masked, heavily armed agents in paramilitary garb driving unmarked cars, targeting American citizens based on their skin color, racially profiling and picking up random people in parking lots and off of our sidewalks, going after landscapers simply decorating a Christmas tree in someone's front yard, and entering churches and stores to grab people. This is not making us safer. It's stoking fear and dividing our community. It is long past time for Congress to act. We need strong borders. We must hold accountable and deport anyone who has committed a serious crime. And we must create a path to legal status for those who've been here a long time, paid their taxes, and followed the law, especially our dreamers who came to this country as very young children. North Carolina, I know this is a stressful moment, but please stay peaceful. And if you see something wrong, record it and report it to local law enforcement. That's what we can do for our neighbors to keep each other safe. That's the North Carolina way.
That all sounded really good, right? Really lofty. But you need to understand, none of these politicians care about us. And they surely don't care about illegals being in this country. And then, of course, they want to bring up and say it's racial and because they're profiling them because of their skin color. Under Joe Biden, we had the highest number of illegals coming through our open borders. But this was all planned. This is what they want. And this is the chaos that they want right now. Before Biden got into office, there were 17 million people on SNAP. Under him, 42 million people are on SNAP. And these are not all Americans. I've shown you that the vast majority, as you see illegals come up in this country, as that number spikes high, well, guess what? SNAP, welfare, things, all of the government benefits go up in direct correlation with that graph. So you're telling me that it has nothing to do with all of these illegals coming in and that number spiking, and it just so happens to coordinate with SNAP and all of the welfare going out of our country, that it just so happens that all of these Americans needed to be on it at that point. Even though it coordinates with illegals coming in, we already know that they give them benefits. We already know that they signing them up to vote, giving them driver's licenses. We've seen the stories. I've shown you guys this. So what he's saying now It's an outright lie. It's an outright lie. They will cherry pick and say people are being pulled out of churches. Americans are, they're pulling Americans, and it's just the color of their skin. They can never show any evidence of this, but they say it, so we're just supposed to accept it as fact, accept it as law. Well, I don't think so. Okay, they're not showing the truth about what's going on in the coordinated effort to flood our country with illegals. And that's part of their mass plan to create chaos and disorder, and also to bring in the one world government. And you guys may not see how it ties together, but this is one reason you definitely need to be checking out my live streams.
In North Carolina, a new immigration enforcement sweep is raising serious concerns. Border Patrol launched a major operation in Charlotte, and on day one, 81 people were arrested. It's the first time Border Patrol is operating in Charlotte without ICE agents working at the same locations. North Carolina's governor is strongly criticizing this deployment, saying officials should work to help immigrants who want to be in this country legally rather than arresting people based on only race. Asheville's mayor warned her city could be next, saying every person, regardless of immigration status, should feel safe. Charlotte leaders also have big concerns this crackdown is creating fear, especially in immigrant neighborhoods. As this operation continues, many are urging people to know their rights, stay informed, and record any encounters.
Do you notice? It's all about race now. It has nothing to do with people coming into this country illegally. Nothing to do with that. Okay, they're trying to make this as a race issue, but this is what they did for years. This is what they told us the entire time that Biden was president, even when Trump was president before. It was all about race, and they just want to lock up brown and black people. They always try to tie black Americans to illegals from other countries, regardless of race, as we're all one big melting pot. That if you're a legal black American who is foundational black American, that somehow this relates to you in your life because you're all of color, people of color. It's just race. They have no evidence of this. They can't show this. Nothing. There is no evidence of this. But because a lot of the illegals that you're seeing being locked up come from South America, okay, who happen to be Hispanic, well then, oh, it's not their legal status. No. They're just going after anyone who's brown, anyone who is from South America, then or Central America. If they're Latino, then they're going after them, which is not the case. It's not true. But this is how they play games in the media to stoke what? Racial chaos, try to make this some type of race war, right? And they try to stoke the fires on both sides. But this governor, he is not cooperating. They talk nice. They say these things. Well, we want to make sure that people, if they do have a criminal record, they can do this, that, and the other. You have to start to decode what these people are actually saying and what propaganda they're spinning. And as soon as I hear race, that sends an alarm up for me because I know right there, lies are coming out. That's what it is. Those are lies. And again, they never backed this up with any documentation. They had no problem with illegals from other countries flooding our system, draining the American taxpayers. They had no problem with that. And now they want to play on your compassion and your empathy and say, well, it's racism and these people, they just been paying taxes and doing things. I could not go to Mexico right now and get a job and then get benefits and welfare. I couldn't do that in pretty much any country, well, except for the UK right now, which they're doing the same thing. And it's far worse. We've seen what's happening there. I've shown you the videos. Okay, I could not go to Mexico right now and do that. They have been kicking illegals out of their country. Okay, other people from Ecuador or Guatemala or other countries that are in Central and South America, Mexico is kicking them out because they're illegal. I don't hear anything about racial injustice then. I don't hear anything about race. Why aren't they telling you the full picture, the full scope of what is happening? But I think you know why. So let's look at this here. This is, again, this governor that when he was asked, okay, this question. And again, pay attention to the games.
Governor, just want to ask you how you're responding to recent reports saying that CBP is choosing Charlotte to come to next.
Yeah, we've seen the same reports as everyone else. Of course, we've reached out to the White House. We haven't heard back. So at this point, we just don't know for certain. Everyone in this community deserves to be safe, to feel safe, and we are committed to working with the city to ensure that people are safe.
Do those scenes in Chicago concern you that they could possibly be recreated in Charlotte?
Yeah, if we had absolute confidence that ICE was going to come here and they were going to go and find violent, dangerous drug traffickers and criminals and be targeted in their work, the city would welcome them with open arms. I'm almost certain of that. We haven't heard from them, so we don't know what their plans are, but we have seen instances where ICE has gone after American citizens and detained them for up to days at a time. We've seen them assault senior people. We've seen them go after people who were peacefully protesting. This is not how policing is supposed to happen in this country. Wearing masks, no identification. So we don't know what their plans are here for Charlotte. If they come in and they are targeted in what they do, we will thank them. If they come in and wreak havoc and cause chaos and fear, we will be very concerned.
Have there been discussions about any kind of legal options you may be able to take to prevent Border Patrol from coming in?
Well, Border Patrol has the right to go. They have national jurisdiction. So there's nothing that the state could do, even if we were want to stop them from coming. So at this point, we're just going to have to see what their plans are. Obviously, we want to hear from them what their plans are so that we can plan accordingly.
They know what the plan is. He knows what the plan is. And again, remember, they just throw out these vague things. We know that American citizens have been detained for days at a time. Make it like this is mass thing that's going on, right? They don't ever give specific examples. They don't ever tell these specific stories. They just say it and put it out there in the atmosphere. And long after it's debunked, well, then they move on. They go, then gaslight you to the next thing and the next thing. And he even said, they don't have any way to stop ICE, but yet they are trying to tell people that they have a way to do that. So they're misinforming people. Instead of working with ICE, okay, they are actually enacting their own agents, their own police officers to fight against what ICE is doing or to have people protest. And don't get me started with the protests, which are by and large all coordinated. They're all paid for by some organization, some dark money funding that is going on. Okay, these are not authentic people protesting. We know this. We have shown this. We've documented it. But they want the optics of it. They want the optics of all this chaos. And why? You have to wonder why. They are not addressing the real issue. They've allowed the open borders. They want the open borders. They know that is their new base. But at the same time, they want to demonize ICE. They want to stoke social unrest. But like I've told you, there is no other country in the world I can go to and just demand that I get to stay there, demand that I get to vote, demand that I get all of these benefits. And law enforcement just does nothing. And the laws that are on the books are supposed to be completely ignored. And the law enforcement is then demonized if they detain me because I am in that country illegally. And this is the part they don't want you to know. This is the part they don't want you to focus on. But let's continue down this path, okay? Once your eyes are open and you've seen all the things that they do, you see the lies that they tell, you just can't ignore it anymore. The games that they play are being exposed, and this is something they just can't stand. But let's play this one. What you're seeing here, okay, these are not the paid protesters that we see normally, these organized things that they do, Antifa, all of that outside of ICE facilities. These are people that are local that are just upset because ICE is doing their job. And now they're trying to frame it as these are protesting. These are just people that don't want law enforcement to do their job. And then they go back and they tell these stories about how cruel and mean and terrible ICE is, how horrible law enforcement is. But continue to watch.
ICE! You better start clearing out! You better start clearing out! You better start clearing out! Let's start throwing gas in here! Hurry up! Clear out! Clear out! Let our dangerous alone! Clear out! I'm saying today, you ass motherfucker! Get out! Look away! Look at you! Where's the business? Where's the business? This is community. You can end it right now.
You So again, interrupting what ICE is trying to do. And what's so crazy is that we know that they have flooded the country with illegals. They've decimated all types of industries in America for the American workers. And then once the jobs that they have left, they price them, the pay is so low that it's like, okay, an American person, an American citizen who does that job, who is qualified to do that job, they will have it so low that the person can't, what they would be paid, they can't afford to pay their bills with it. They can't afford to feed their family with it, but they know an illegal will take that job. So this is how we see the replacement of American workers happening across all sectors of industry, where they will either they're outsourcing these jobs to other countries, or they're directly giving these jobs to illegals. And they do it in a way where they, again, it's how much they are paying these people to do this, while these companies get richer and richer, while they keep making the wealth gap. A lot of people hear this and they think, well, of course, if someone owns a company or if it's a billionaire, they're going to make that type of money. But I think we need to do a video to show just how wide this gap is, the divide is. These companies have the money to pay the American workers. They have that, but they know, well, I can always just use an illegal because they're cheaper. And who cares about American labor? Who cares if Americans have jobs or not? So this is also part of the coordinated effort to not only have illegals come in here and living off benefits, getting SNAP, because even the ones who have jobs, they are still getting SNAP and welfare and all of that. But then more Americans have to go on to it because the industries have basically priced them out. And they make it so, they make it very clear, we don't want you. We want someone that can work as cheap as possible. We know someone who's probably here illegally, because if they make any stink or they have any problems on the job, there's nothing they can do about it. So all in all, it's trafficking. And we don't even have to get into the sex trafficking that happens with these open borders and illegals. Guys, it is just a vicious cycle. Are you starting to see the cycle in what they're doing? Okay, and then they have the news stories that say how this is racist and all of this is how this is so mean and this hurts everybody, but they do nothing to help us, to help U.S. citizens, taxpayers, people who have worked a job for 20 years. And then all of a sudden they're seeing themselves replaced and then told, well, they need to go learn how to code. But even in that industry is now getting decimated by people who come over here, whether legally or illegally. And so everywhere you look, the American people have no options. But at the end of the day, one of the things they want the most is for people to be dependent on the government. They want expansion of government and government to be your God. All right. They want you so destitute, so sad, so hungry, so without option that you have no choice but to lean on the government. Now, I hate when I have these clips where it's kind of like in a TikTok and it's kind of small, but hopefully you guys get the drift of that. But let's take a look at this one real quick.
Homeland Security officials say about 100 people were arrested on Saturday in Charlotte by Border Patrol and ICE. That city's Democratic mayor says this is causing unnecessary uncertainty and fear. This cell phone video captured the moment U.S. Border Patrol smashed Willie Acetuno's car window because he wouldn't open his door. Acetuno is a Honduran-born American citizen and was injured during his arrest. This is the second time in 10 minutes I was stopped, he says. He showed them identification and they left.
Brandy, they're in our yard.
Just blocks away, a resident spotted agents moving in on her landscaping crew as they were putting up Christmas lights. No arrests were made. Commander Gregory Bavino is leading the crackdown after spearheading Border Patrol efforts in Chicago and Los Angeles. In a social media post, he said many of those arrested had criminal and immigration histories. In total nationwide, the Department of Homeland Security says more than 500,000 people have been arrested and deported during these operations. The federal agency says its intent is to ensure Americans are safe and remove threats. Today was the second day of protests over the immigration crackdown in Charlotte.
It's terrifying to pretty much know that at any moment a federal agent can just come out and abuse you just because of the way you look.
Do you see what they're doing? For the way that you look. So the guy did not comply with a lawful order to open your door. He refused to open his door, and they don't focus on that part, okay? Because if you and I were to do that, even as American citizens, if they tell us to roll down a window or do or obey a lawful command, the same thing will happen. I've done videos with that when I was doing police body cam. This happens to American citizens every day. But now they're making it about, because of the way he looks. That's why this happened. I don't know why he was stopped. They don't have the full information about this. We don't have any information as to what this was. But understand how they are trying to frame this. It's the same cycle we see over and over and over again. And again, of course, their favorite excuse is, this is racist. This is wrong. These people have been here, and so it's wrong to have them leave. It's wrong to enforce the law. You are made to feel guilty for laws being enforced. Is that not insane? Is that not insane? The same news won't say anything about an American citizen who, whose rights were actually violated. But no, let's focus on illegals. Let's focus on people who broke the law being in this country in the first place. But do you see what they're doing? Do you see how they are going to inflame the left with this? But then they also inflame the right with this. So we keep fighting, and we don't look at what's actually happening underneath the hood. So we don't peel back the curtain, remove the veil from our eyes, and seeing what is happening with our government. But let's continue.
All eyes need to be on Charlotte, North Carolina, because that is where currently we have some news right now. All eyes need to be on Charlotte, North Carolina, because that is where currently ICE is raiding businesses and homes across the city. A number of businesses were forced to shutter over the weekend out of fear because residents in Charlotte, North Carolina are fearful of what ICE is doing. This is the Trump administration's next target. Chicago was first. They had LA, Portland, and now Charlotte, North Carolina, and a lot of residents are very fearful. Dozens of arrests were made over the weekend by ICE officials and other federal agents. And these raids are only supposed to continue throughout the week and into next weekend as Trump tries to crack down on this city in North Carolina. I'm sure we'll get more stories about militarized raids and just families being separated in Charlotte, and I'll continue to provide you update, but all eyes need to be on Charlotte right now. Spread the word. Full updates on my Substack, linked in bio. Subscribe for free. Follow along to stay up to date on all the news that you need to know about.
He just said a bunch of nothing. That all eyes need to be on North Carolina. All eyes, you see, distract. All eyes, because it's the massive raids that are going on. Although Trump has not deported nearly what Obama did. And Democrats, all of them, used to sound like the current administration. But now, because they need to find something to divide us and fight about, and to, all eyes on this. Don't look at anything else. Just look at this that I'm telling you to look at. Don't peel back the lid. I'm not going to give any specifics. I'm not going to give specific stories, any individual experiences. No, it's just massively going on, and all of this is happening where the Trump administration is actually behind, okay, on the numbers that they said that they will be deporting. But again, what is this? These are games that they play, and we've seen it over and over. But guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because I'm going to be bringing you a lot more stories that are going on, helping you open your eyes, peel back the layers, see what's happening. But also make sure you subscribe to Melanie Allscript, because we're going to be diving deep into, so that we can start putting all these pieces together. Because opening up the borders and having a mass amount of illegals in this country is all part of their game plan. That's part of their game plan. Okay. They wanted this here to not only bankrupt the country, which that is happening on different fronts. Okay. From the left and right, but also so that they can bring in new laws, so they can enforce new laws that would actually surprise you. Once I show you how this all ties into the WEF, what's going on with digital ID, this is another way that they're going to try to bring in the digital ID and making it mandatory. But the list goes on and on. So you are going to want to be subscribed to that channel, because when I go live, we go deep. Sometimes we go 3-4 hours just, the time flies by because we are just unpacking so much of this foolishness that's going on. But again, guys, make sure you subscribe there, here, and share this video with someone who needs to see it. And I will see you on the next one.